Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann, and I show men and women how they can create healthy, happy, sustainable lives. And I'm really delighted because today I'm joined by Karen Callahan. Hi, Karen.
Hi, Julie. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. So, for those of you that don't yet know who Karen is, she is the founder of Adventures Online. But before we get into that, Karen, I'd really like to know about the adventures in your life. So tell me, when you were a small girl, did you have an adventurous time? Did you have adventures in your childhood?
Yes, I had adventures. I was a small girl for well, first of all, I was never small. I was always on the plumper side as that goes. But as far as childhood goes, it was great until I was about 10 and a half. Normal childhood, upper middle class family, very privileged in my neighborhood, and lovely parents. And then my mother got ill. So at 10 and a half, I assumed the responsibilities of the household. So that was cooking and cleaning and making sure everyone got to where they needed to be. And it was a lot at 10 and a half. So that went on for till I was 22. So I had a shortened childhood.
Wow, that must have been an absolute shock. Not just your mother's diagnosis, but also then having to take on this new role at such a young age.
Right. It was, at the time you do what you have to do, or what you're told to do or what you have to do. And it's a joy to be able to support and keep things running. In the end, as an adult, it has its ramifications in the choices that you make. I like at 12, I was going to my younger brother's parent teacher meetings. So it kind of messes with your brain a little, and it messes with your relationships with my siblings. I have 3 brothers. It messes with your relationships because they're like, well, are you my mother? Are you my sister? Or, that kind of thing. So you have to work through that stuff, and it's all good.
Yeah. So before you had to assume that role then, Karen, did you believe that you could do anything and your life would turn out?
Oh, always, yes. So a couple of things we learned at growing up are very fun. Some of them are very funny and some of them aren't. But yes, I was always told I could be anything I want, even when I was doing those extra responsibilities. I can be anything I want. And at the time it was nurse, teacher, and something else. But all I ever wanted to do or some other thing was very common. And my parents said, don't limit yourself. You can be an engineer, you can do this, you can be a doctor, you can do whatever you put your mind to. You just have to do the work. But all I ever wanted to do was be a teacher. So I would go to school and couldn't wait to get out of school so I could come home and play school. My parents, I was so fanatical about it. My parents went and got me a real teacher's desk. And then they put up a blackboard in the basement for me, and I would go down there and play for hours. So, yeah, so the message was I can be anything I want to be. And the other message was that my opinion mattered. I guess we were a progressive family because every Sunday before my mother got ill, we would have dinner together and we would go around the table, and it was like, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And the lesson was that everybody is equal. Doesn't matter what color they are, where they come from, whatever. And everybody's opinion matters. And just because your opinion is different from someone else's opinion just means you have different opinions. So it wasn't conflict in my house, and that's what I taught. And that's the funny part, because in corporate, that doesn't work out.
So when did you first experience conflict?
Well, I mean, naturally growing up, you have conflicts, but when I started working, when I really noticed what was at the root of it, was when I worked in corporate. So after I taught for a number of years, the state made a tax ruling, and my city laid off 200 teachers. And I was retrained as a programmer because I was in languages, and they thought, well, if you speak that language, you can do this language. So I went and worked for bigger companies and very large corporations here in Massachusetts. And it was there that I was, happily sharing my opinion, because that's who I am. It's like, oh, you want an opinion? I always have one. So anyways, it wasn't until people started saying, hey, come on, how come you're always starting trouble? And I was like, what are you talking about? All I said is, oh, I don't agree with that opinion. This is what my opinion is. And so in the back of my brain, I was just sharing my opinion, but other people were not brought up that way. For them, it was conflict. You never disagreed with mom and dad, or whatever their upbringing was. And so it did cause some angst when I was working in corporate.
So how did you get through that, Karen?
I kind of just reined it in and became more quiet, because there were more of the believers that when you disagreed, it was conflict. So I reined it in and didn't offer it until I was asked. And then when I was asked, I tried to tone it down, be honest, but tone it down.
You say you tried to, so you felt really compromised and it wasn't comfortable to do that.
Oh, no, it never was comfortable, because, I mean, when you think about it, that's what your parents taught you. And I held my parents in high esteem, and that's the way that was ingrained in us since we were tiny, tiny kids, that your opinion matters. So, and it's not conflict. So, yeah, it took a long time. I never got used to it. Never. I ended up leaving corporate, but not for that reason.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you talked about programming, and I'm assuming you're talking about computer programming.
Yes.
Yeah. So baby boomers like me obviously didn't grow up with smart technology. There wasn't any internet and computers. What was that? So do you remember when you saw your first computer?
Yes, I do. So as I said, I was teaching, living my dream life. And then I got laid off because 200 teachers in my city got laid off. And then I got retrained. So the first time I saw a computer or a terminal in a box was when I got retrained. So I did not want to go to this school. My best friend wanted to go to the school. And I said, I'm a people person. I'm the teacher they were always yelling at, keep your hands off the kids. Don't touch the kids, don't hug them. But I'm kind of touchy-feely that way. But she was very interested. So I went with her to keep her company. And what happened was I learned that all that mystery that we have in our brain, I was this person just like everybody else, like, oh, which button, and I don't want to touch it. I learned that the computer only does what you tell it to do. So then it was a game. It's a game just like the kids nowadays, honestly. It's how can I outsmart this game? So the computer comes with a base level of programming, and then you have to kind of learn its language, and can you manipulate it? Can you get it to do something? So you're always in competition basically with yourself. It's fun.
Wow. I mean, for me, technology has always been very, very challenging. And as you start to talk about programming, I noticed my eyes glaze over a little bit. And thank God, there are people that love it, which obviously you do, and you're obviously an expert at it. So tell us, how come you decided to set up Adventures Online, Karen?
So I didn't decide. A woman that I didn't know told me to do it. So I was working in corporate. My business was Digital Equipment Corporation, very large corporation out here, and they sold to Intel. And I chose not to work for Intel, so I left the company. So I was out of work for 10 weeks, and it's 24 years ago, and I don't have access at home. So my friend told me, go to the unemployment office and you can use their computers. I said, terrific. So I went to the unemployment office and I asked there was one woman there. So 24 years ago in the United States, they were starting to close all the unemployment offices and move to the internet. So there was one person in there, a lady, I have no idea what her name was. And I said, oh, can I use your computer to do whatever I had to do, I thought I needed to do? And she said, yes. And then as I was sitting there doing whatever I was doing, she was fake filing stuff and going behind me. So what are you doing out of work today? Oh, I quit my job. Then I do my stuff. She comes back. Oh, so how come you quit your job? Oh, well, because they hired me to do this level work and then they ended up having me do this level work, da, da, da. I went through that story with her. Okay, so what are you going to do about it? Anyways, the long and short of the story is this woman was not going to leave me alone until she had whatever answer she needed. And I felt compelled to respond to her because I was using her equipment. Anyway, so she insisted that I come into the office, that I get listed with the state as being unemployed. I said, look, I quit my job. I can't collect unemployment. I'm not interested. And she's like, oh, no, you need to come in. And so we talked, I did go in and we talked for about 20 minutes. And she said, well, it's clear to me. I don't know why it's not clear to you. You need to start your own business. And I said, well, first of all, that's not the I didn't say it like this, but I told her that's not the model I saw. You work hard for somebody else, you get paid, you use that payment to do whatever you need to do or what you want to do in life. And that's the model that I had seen. Dad left at 5:30 in the morning, came home at 7 o'clock at night. Sometimes he brought work, sometimes he didn't bring work. And he was well paid, and we had a nice life. And she said, well, Karen, here's what your problem is. You want to work on websites. Almost nobody around here has started using websites, let alone do they have the equipment and the network set up for that. So if you really want to do that, you have no choice but to start your own website, because the companies around here are just getting set up and you're going to be unemployed for a very, very long time. And then she handed me a piece of paper and said, here, go to this, stay unemployed for 3 months, but keep applying for the jobs you're applying for because they're not ready to hire you. And then in 3 months, go to this school for entrepreneurs in the next town over. And I did that. So I went to, and I'm like, well, all right, fine, I'll try it. I had been working for 15 years anyway, so I wasn't really interested in jumping into my next engagement. I could take my time. Let's just say I could afford to take the time. So I went to this course. They analyzed our handwriting. They videotaped us. At any second, they'd turn around and call on us. It was harder to get the certificate from there than it was to get my master's. And that's how it all started at that. And then everything just happened because I was taking yoga at the time. My yoga instructor said, hey, don't you know something about this? I said, sure, fine. I did her website. I did my women's gym website. And that's how it all started.
Wow. So thank goodness you went in to use that computer that day. Oh my goodness, your life completely changed. That's the thing, isn't it? You never know who you're going to meet and you never know how your life's going to change as a result of a conversation. I love that.
Well, and the saddest part about that is I didn't get her name. I have no idea who she was. I couldn't go back afterwards because they closed the office like shortly after that. And who knew that this was going to end up being a success? The only thing we knew at the time is that I love to do this stuff. And I could see the potential because I work in technology and I understand. The very first year, 24 years ago, is when FedEx started putting their tracking online. They used to have the 1-800 number and they were famous. That was their thing. Once they moved that to online and saved $2 million in the first year, that's when I decided this is not going to be a fad.
Yeah, amazing. So for anyone watching, Karen, who doesn't know anything about websites or search engine optimization or anything like that, can you tell us a few simple facts? Just enlighten us a little bit.
Okay, well, it's my opinion that everybody should have a website. I think people get confused nowadays with all of the social media. Oh, I'm on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm on Pinterest. Oh, I'm on Instagram. I get a lot of feedback from those places. Your website is the hub for all of those places. Basically, when you're out there on social media, you are inviting people to come really learn more about me, and that really learn more about you is at your website. So you really need to have a website. And then for the times that you want to take vacation, the times that you want to spend with your children, when you're busy working, producing stuff for your own clients, you need to apply search engine optimization to the website. So, it's just, why are you going to do a website and put it out there and not get found? Search engine optimization helps you get found. And I think the biggest fallacy is that people like myself, people like you, solopreneurs, people who are bloggers, are writing every day, they think that Google's a behemoth and Google's never going to like them and Google mistreats them. And the fact is that Google, I understand programs. Google uses programs, and the programs try to figure out who you are. And there's a huge dictionary of related terms that Google has. So it knows when you say root canal, it's a dentist. Or if you say dentist, it knows to look for cavity, and all the terms that you and I could share back and forth right now. So anyways, my point is people are not helpless. People can tell Google, people can improve their steps without doing technical stuff. So that's the piece that people are missing. They think they can't do it, and then they're like, well, I don't really want to do technical stuff. It's all about words. Search engine optimization by itself is very it's that probability class that we all hated in high school and in college, and it's all statistics and stuff like that. But it's all about words. Every single measurement is about words, and you're in charge. Nobody knows your life like you know your life. Nobody knows what work you truly want to be doing. So as far as the search engine optimization goes, yes, you are in control. You just need to use the right words in the right places.
And life's about words, isn't it, Karen? A good life is about using good words that people can understand.
Yes.
Sense, and that actually connect us, on a human level. So.
Well, and it's really such a simple formula. I do search engine optimization, but I try to rephrase it. My clients taught me to call it train Google to treat you better, or train Google to give you a better rank. They don't resonate with let's do some search engine optimization. But if I call it, hey, let me show you how to train Google to treat you better, they're on board.
Yeah.
So you have to, so I didn't know that. I learned that from my clients. So you have to figure out what's the work that's going to light you up. What's the work that's going to make your heart sing so that when you go to work, it's really not work every day. You love it.
Yeah.
So you set your target on that, and then you say, okay, who's out there and who's buying that? Who's buying that? And those are the people you target. And what are the terms they use? And then you just put them, you sprinkle them in your words. This formula is so simple. There's just the stuff that there's a lot to think about is the places, like you want to put it in your titles and the file names and so on and so forth.
Thank you for explaining it so beautifully to someone
Thank you.
like me who's not au fait with it already. Much rather give it to someone else, which is of course why you have your company.
That's why I'm here.
Lots of people like me. And obviously I'm going to post all your links below this interview, Karen. So everybody please
wonderful.
check Karen out. So
appreciate that.
Obviously, Karen, there are so many people who are building websites, who are doing search engine optimization. I can't even say it, search engine optimization. So why would you say that you're the person to go to? If you're going to recommend yourself, how would you do that?
I love that question, because when you hire me, you hire me. You're not hiring somebody in my company. So number one, if our personalities connect, then you're going to be working with me. The second thing is I'm going to recommend for you what I believe is in your best interest based on the knowledge that I have today. So you don't have to accept, let's do this to your images. Let's go through and rename all your images. Excuse me. You don't have to accept that, and we don't have to do it, but I'm going to recommend it to you if it's in your best interest for the long term. And I'm looking for long-term relationships. I don't just say, here, do it and leave it. But for instance, something like teaching someone how to do search engine optimization, I can teach them that skill set once. I have an online course they can take, they can refer to, and take it as many times as they want if they choose. But if you do search engine optimization, it's not a set it and forget it kind of activity. Because there might be one dentist online today, or let's say there's 10 million dentists online today, and your website gets judged against those 10 million. Well, 60 days from now, there's 12 million. and your websites gets reevaluated against those websites. So you always need to stay on top of what's happening in your world.
Yeah.
And keep it fresh.
Love that. I know that you're actually a lover of board games, aren't you? Like Rummy Cub, you like Scrabble, Scrabble as well. But those things require using the brain. I mean, do you ever actually switch off your mind? And if you do, how do you do that?
So I like to lift weights. So working out is the thing that I love to hate and complain about. But I'm freakishly good at lifting weights, which who knew? I certainly didn't know, because as a child, as I say, I was a plump girl and grew up to be a plump girl. And so physical activity wasn't really my thing. So I like to do that. I love reading. I don't know if you're familiar with Janet Ivanovich. So I do business reading. There's a lot of business in my life. I'm single. I don't have kids to take care of, no grandchildren. So I have a lot of time to do whatever I want to do. So I do a lot of business reading, but Janet Ivanovich writes like a Stephanie Plum novel, and she's got 25 in the sequence. Now, actually, she's probably up to 28 by now. So it's nonsense, it's foolish. It's a fun thing. It's not one of those romance novels that you take to the beach, but it's fun stuff. So I read, listen to music, travel. Yeah, that's it. I love those games though.
Yeah, fantastic. One last question, Karen.
Sure.
When you're no longer on this planet, how would you like to be remembered?
When I'm no longer on, I think I would like to be remembered as the most loyal and supportive friend that you had.
Lovely. It's been great fun talking to you.
Wonderful.
Karen Callahan, thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Julie. I appreciate it.